Why I kind of felt so kind of off by it was because it was the higher mind, the subconscious, whatever you want to call it, of myself and the client actually designed more of like in this esoteric energy. And just what you come to find, guys, working with energy in any energy work session, that your body actually, this will determine how easily the client can get into a hypnotic state. Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel, and hello if you are new. My name is Andrea Johnson, your energy work practitioner, psychic development teacher, and manifestation coach, and your spiritual inspiration. Welcome to the Good Vibe Tribe. Welcome to another episode of Conscious Coffee Talks, where we discuss the topic to expand our consciousness and improve our lives. So let's dive into today's topic. So guys, today's topic is going to be a fun one, and it's going to be more of like me stepping into my teaching energy. So we're going to be talking about BQH today. So BQH stands for Beyond Quantum Healing. So a lot of you guys out there are really interested in what this modality looks like and what a session entails. So to start off with, guys, I want to give you the story on how I actually got into BQH, because it wasn't by coincidence. None of this is by coincidence, guys, but there was a lot of synchronicity around this topic. So as you guys know, I do all the things energy work. I'm a Reiki practitioner. I do emotion code. I do BQH. I do brain drop. And I do psychic readings for people sometimes if I feel called to do so. BQH actually came into my conscious awareness during one of my psychic development courses, and it was the channeling course, of course. During this course, that Dalores canon actually came through for me, and me at the time, I had no idea who Dalores was.
It all started with God, or what they call the source. I've had many people go back to the source.
I had no idea what QHHT was, which that is her method of, and a kind of like an offshoot of BQH. And so she comes through, and I feel this intense energy come over me. It was Dalores Cannon, and her message for me was that I was to be doing this type of work in BQH, or her work in QHHT. And I'm like, well, what is that? So I go and do all the research, and then I actually find a BQH method, which is more in alignment to me. I had never really dove into Dalores' course because there was just something that was holding me back. There was something about that I'm like, I'm not ready. It's not time yet. And then I met Candace Craw Goldman, or I didn't meet her, but I actually stumbled upon her course. I decided to take the course, and lo and behold, I think it was like a couple weeks later, I was in Mystics, which is the shop that I work at. And there comes in a girl, and we get on the subject of BQH, and she's in the same class that I am in for Candace's program online. That is like, the odds of that happening are insane. So then we hit it off, and then we become like friends in this, and then we start practicing it on each other, and just like, it was just a whole moment of synchronicities just coming together, filled with more throughout the journey. But anyway, so let's first go over with what exactly is BQH. BQH actually stands for Beyond Quantum Healing. It is an offshoot of Dalores Cannon's method of QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique. But with Beyond Quantum Healing, it's not your clinical hypnosis approach. It's actually designed more of like in this esoteric energy, and actually allows for an open, expansive exploration of the subconscious mind of the client, and helps them get more in touch with their intuition. So it's a very heart-opening, spiritual, esoteric session, which is why I didn't really go with Dalores Cannon's method in the beginning, and why I kind of felt so kind of off by it was because it was more like structured. So with BQH, it is more intuitively led. It's led honestly by intuition, and from my experience with this, the higher mind, the subconscious, whatever you want to call it, of myself and the client actually designs the session perfectly every single time. Let's go into what a session does actually look like. First off, I start out with a pre-session before the actual session, and this is extremely important when you do this type of work because of the level of trust that is needed between you and the client, because this is a very vulnerable state that the client is going to be in and exploring their mind. They need to be able to trust you and get used to your energy to be able to relax enough and allow the information to actually come through. So that it comes in handy with the pre-session. And with the pre-session, this is when I develop rapport with the individual and our energies get used to one another. It is also during this time that I explain what BQH is, so then that way the client is fully aware of what to expect and to make sure that they understand what hypnosis actually is and how this is different from your clinical hypnosis session like you would get in an NLP. We also go over the client's goals. So I want to get a better understanding of why they're wanting a BQH session. What are they trying to answer in their life? What are they trying to heal? Because the whole point of the session is to get the client in touch with their higher selves or with their intuition, so then they can receive guidance around certain things that are issues in their life or questions that they may have. So I want to understand what those things are, so then I can better help guide them through this session. And it just helps me get an understanding of what's going on in their life right now, and I can provide some kind of intuitive insight typically as we're discussing these things. The client usually picks between like 3 to 5 questions that they would want answered from their higher self in the session. It's also during this time in the pre-session that I get a good idea of what kind of brain activity is going on in my client. So what I mean by this is if they're right or left brained. And this is really important to understand as the practitioner, because you want to see how hard it would be for your client to actually receive imagery. So somebody who's more right-brained will tap into their creativity a lot easier. So it's the intuitive side or the feminine side. So somebody who's really good at imagination has an easy time seeing pictures in their mind. Some people will call this clairvoyance. So they're very strong in this ability to see in their mind's third eye. So you want to get a good idea on if your client can actually do this or not, and if you need to help them kind of build that muscle before the session, or you know that what tools to have in your toolbox and ready to go in case the client struggles during the session to actually get imagery to pop up. So if they're more left-brained, then they're more logical, they're more analytical, and they're more in their masculine energy. So it's these types of people who actually have a hard time trusting the information or actually seeing and visualizing the information coming through. So sometimes we'll do like a little picture test. We might play like a what if game, something of that nature to give me a good idea on if the client needs help or not. And if they do need help, I will actually send them exercises to do before the session to get that right brain muscle going, because all it does take, guys, is practice. Anybody can do it. We are both of these energies. So just because somebody is more left-brained in the moment doesn't mean they can't train themselves to be right-brained, right? So where's the benefit of being an energetic being? You can switch back and forth. For example, I will pop up a picture, and I actually have a picture that I show clients or I send them, and I have them describe to me what is in this picture. What do you see? So typically you get 3 types of clients. One, they will not really say anything at all. They'll be like, I don't know what this is. Like, they'll actually think that it's stupid, or they won't even try, or they will be very analytical. So they might say something like, I see a dog, I see it laying on the bed, I see a window. Like they're just gonna literally tell you what they see. So that is a left-brained person. Now, the next client you might get would be, I see a yellow dog laying on the bed. It looks really tired. The sun is shining outside. It looks really pretty. It looks a little dark in the room. And they'll have a little bit more detail behind the picture, and a little bit of a story behind it. Now, the third client that you're going to get that will be extremely right-brained will be, so that's my grandpa's dog laying on the bed. His name is Jack. He's really hyper and energetic. He was just outside running all day, so he's tired right now. He typically sleeps, and that's his spot that he sleeps in. You see what I'm saying? Like, there is a legit story behind the picture. So the client's imagination is piecing together, like, what is the backstory behind this picture, the symbology behind it, right? It's also during the pre-session that I get a good idea on if the client has a meditative practice or not. This will determine how easily the client can get into a hypnotic state, because the whole point of this session is that it slows the client's brainwaves down to be able to slip into a hypnotic state. And it's much easier to do so when clients actually have a meditative practice. So if they don't have a meditative practice, I will try to get them to at least meditate, or try to, and give them maybe some guided meditations or even some guided visual meditations that they can watch on YouTube to help get their mind into this place. So that's typically what the pre-session looks like. It's about an hour long, and I will not conduct a BQH session without the pre-session. To me, it is almost useless if you don't, or you're not going to get the full benefit from it if you don't do this. Let's go over what a typical session looks like. A typical session lasts anywhere from like 1 to 3 hours. Sometimes I've heard of them lasting longer than that, but from my experience, nothing has ever gone over 3, and that can even be considered a short session for some. First off, I, as the practitioner, prep the room energetically. That would be on you of how, or if you're a practitioner, just depends on what you want to do. After that, we do a water alchemy ceremony. So this just further puts energy behind the intention of what we are trying to heal. Typically, like any energy work session that I do, I say a prayer, I bless the room, all those things. I have an intention that I set. But this is a fun way to actually get our bodies acclimated with the energy, because if you guys know anything about water, it is like spirit or essence in material form because of how permeable water is and how easily it can be programmed with energy, and our cells can absorb it essentially. So if you've ever heard of Dr. Emoto's science experiment with snowflakes and water, it's proven that these things are true. Water takes on the vibration, or which is your intention. It's a level of energy and therefore vibration. So it just helps us better acclimate ourselves to the session, and our bodies are gearing up to actually have the session. And just what you come to find, guys, working with energy in any energy work session, that your body actually already starts to gear itself up for it. I actually start getting into alignment with my client and with the session a couple of days beforehand, if one's scheduled and I know it. Sometimes I get walk-ins for Reiki, things like that. But it's crazy how your body and spirit design a reality out of whatever that you need for that session to get you ready for it. It's absolutely insane, the synchronicities, and you don't realize it until after the session has happened. So after the water alchemy ceremony, we both drink it, and then we actually start the induction phase. So the induction phase is just when I read off from a script that allows the client to slip into a hypnotic state or a meditative state. So most of the time this takes about like 15 to 20 minutes. You want to make sure that you can get the client as deep as you can into a hypnotic state. to then start the actual journey of whatever the subconscious mind connects to bring through, however it decides to bring it through, right? So once the client's actually seeing information come through, they're speaking it out to me, and I'm submerged right there in the scene with them. So as the client is telling me all these things, I am constructing the scene in my mind, and then I'm able to ask questions back. And these questions could be like, okay, what are you wearing? Look down at your feet. What do your feet look like? What do your clothes feel like? You know, I'm trying to get as much information from the client and from this scene as I can, so I can collect it and piece together what symbology is connecting or coming through in alignment with the question or the intention of the session, because we don't know how spirit is going to design this reality or this session essentially around the intention, but it does it every single time. After however many scenes that we go through to get the questions answered, once I feel like we have the answers that we need, and once I'm gauging off the client's energy, it just really depends upon like where you were at energetically when you came in and what you need. So based upon that, I will bring them up. Most of the time, we will do some form of an energetic healing if one did not happen in the session. And you'll find that too, where there will be opportunities for actual healing to come in, whether that be guides actually step in and do it for them, or there will be some form of a change in scenery to allow the person to either like go back to source or to have an energetic release of some sort. So it's really crazy how it works, but every time, every client I've had, it's just happened naturally. So there will be some form of a healing from the session that will help the client in their next steps. Afterwards, when we brought the client up, we go over the session itself. And that's when I go over my notes that I took. We kind of discuss the symbology, and I get like their perspective on their what they thought about it, you know, how it's relating to them in their life right now. And even if we're not fully sure about it, like I'm not quite sure like what this symbology means, usually later they figure it out. So it's just in the moment, it just does not make sense, but it's planting the seed, and then later on they'll probably get the answer that they were searching for. From my experience, and as being the practitioner and as being the client in some cases, people always receive some form of insight or connection to intuition that strengthens the trust they have within themselves. So it actually allows the client to be able to see how close that they are to source and what it feels like to receive information from their intuition. And even in the moment they think they may be like making it up or something like that, they'll find later how they weren't. And it's one of those aha moments or like a surreal moment. And they get some form of an energetic healing, regardless of whether they think it or not. They change in vibration, slipping into these states, and allowing this information to come through is very therapeutic. And the whole session itself is geared towards healing of some sort. So sometimes the individual actually feels the energy in their body healing them, which was my case when I did this session or had one done on me. I actually felt it come into my body. I actually had my being, I could feel the presences of my beings, like my angelic family, and as far as my interdimensional family come in, and I could feel them doing a psychic surgery on me. My body was vibrating so intensely, so deep. I could feel organs light up. Like, it was absolutely insane. I did not think from this session that I could experience that. I only thought that I could experience that in deep states of meditation or in an energy work like Reiki session of some sort. But this allowed for that. crazy. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much what I had for you. Hopefully that answered your guys' questions. You guys have a good idea of what BQH actually is. And if you have any questions, drop them down below. Now you can do these sessions via distance through like Zoom or something of that nature. I send my notes in the recording of the session. So I actually record on a Zoom call the whole session, and then I will just send that to the client for them to have later. And it's helpful to help them remember, because it's pretty easy to forget the experience later. But anyway, that's what it is. If you guys have questions, drop them down below in the comments. If you're interested in this session, I'll have my website, or just feel free to reach out to me on one of my socials. So let me know, guys, if you would be interested in like me doing some hypnosis sessions of just videos for you guys. So then you could just do them at your home. These would be very different though from an in-person session, but you can still get some healing from it if you set an intention and then watch the videos, and do the hypnosis or the guided meditation visualization type of thing. So let me know your questions in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers. Sending you all of my light and all of my love.